Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen. Austin the Stache here, joined by the one and only Melanie Wilkinson from JustMelW.com. Good morning. How are you?
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I'm so excited for us to do kind of a week in review of York County news.
Absolutely.
Because you're out and about. You're covering all kinds of things.
Everything from city, county, government, school, crime, courts, feature stories. I have all of my opinion pieces that there's one that runs every single day from me or from my contributors. Mm-hmm. So yeah, we're busy. We're out there covering everything that we can possibly do.
You're the gal in the know for sure. So.
Well, I try to know as much as I can. But yeah, that's the goal, is just to have everyone stay informed about what's happening in our area.
And as a person who wakes up at 4 and goes to bed by 7, I don't know what's going on in the world.
Well, those are interesting hours. They are.
Uh-huh. So I'm very excited to kind of keep in touch with what's going on in York County.
And there is a lot going on. And for a community our size, it's pretty impressive because we have a very progressive school system. We have very progressive community leaders and activities. So there's very a lot active to talk about. Very active.
Absolutely.
Yes.
You know, let's go ahead and dive right in. The biggest one that everyone seems to be talking about, even a guy who is as disconnected as I am, has heard about, is the elementary school bond issue. It's $39.5 million.
It is. It's a big number.
It is a big number.
It was announced last week what the amount was going to be. Mm-hmm. That had to be determined before September 1st so that they could have the correct ballot language, because this will go to the voters that are in the York School District in November. And so everyone will get an opportunity to be educated from now until then. And then on that Tuesday, everybody gets a say in what they want to see happen. So I'll admit I haven't had little kids in the elementary school here in York, because all my kids were raised before I got here. So I had the opportunity last week to go in on 2 tours. One was in the evening when school wasn't in session. The other was at noon the next day while there were kids in the facility. And I have to say, it was very eye-opening.
Really?
Yes, it was very eye-opening. And there really are specific needs that you can just see with your own eyes if you're in that building and the facility. Now, I know people say this isn't an old facility. It was built in 1995.
Right. There you go.
It's not, I understand it's not a 70-year-old building.
Sure.
But it was built at a time, as the administrators explained, when education was done differently than it is today. Mm-hmm. So that being said, one of their needs that they've expressed is that they would like to have a preschool facility at the elementary school. Mm-hmm. Right now, they have 3 different locations. One's at Westside Medical, of all places.
Really?
Yes. York General has space for them, and they have a preschool there. Mm-hmm. They also have another at the high school, and then they also have one at the elementary school, because there's so many kids in this early education program, they can't get them all into one place at the elementary school. Now, what's interesting about this, and this was very eye-opening to me, was that all of the meals for the kids in preschool are all made at the elementary school, and then they're all taken to the different sites.
Oh.
So that takes place in itself. Also, for their exercise, recess, outdoor time, the kids at Westside Medical and the high school are actually bused to the elementary school for those times. Now, for the all-day preschool, that means they get bused twice a day.
Yeah.
So that's an interesting task that happens.
Yeah.
Plus, all these different kids are going to different elementary schools. Someday they'll all be at the elementary together, but it's a strange way that it's laid out, where they're going through all of these motions to make all this happen when it could be a lot more cohesive having in one site.
Yeah.
Now, going back to this meal thing, that was another eye-opening thing. So at the elementary school, in the cafeteria and the food prep area, they make 800 meals a day. And that's for breakfast, that's lunch. And then that's also for all the preschool sites plus the elementary school. I walked through the kitchen with the principal, and she said before we went in, they have hardly any prep space. That is not
an understatement.
No.
Really?
I was floored. The walking, they're making it work, but they use roller carts for prep stations. The walk-in cooler is not that huge. They're making it work, but also the eating area. The kids eat in shifts, which you would imagine with that many kids in a facility. But it's a very well orchestrated system how kids come in, they eat, each group gets 20 minutes, but they feed 600 kids in an hour and a half.
Jeez. Wow.
In shifts, and it's full.
Yeah.
It's full. And they get it done, but it is like amazing to me that they can do all of that in this little tiny space. And the other issue that I thought was very visible were the restrooms. There's only 2 restroom pods, if you will, on each side of the building. There's just the one on each side. Well, what this means is that, and they said at any given time, they have 60 kids waiting to use the bathroom at the same time.
Wow.
You ever seen a little kid?
Oh, yeah. It's not good. It's not good at all.
Okay, well, when I was there were 30, I counted them, there were 35 kids in line.
Wow.
At each
bathroom
each
pod.
bathroom. Right.
Wow.
And they were, cycling them. They were doing lunch, then they go to recess, then they go to the bathroom. Lunch, recess, bathroom. But it really was the truth. And the other thing that I thought was interesting, and I know that some people might say, oh, do they really need a gym? And this project would include a new gym space.
It would include, if I remember from my conversations with the superintendent, it would include a few more classrooms, more bathroom space, a bigger lunch room and kitchen, and then also a bigger gym area.
Right. And one would say, well, why do you need a gym for elementary kids?
Right.
It's not like we're going to be playing sporting events there.
Right.
Well, right now, the gym space that they have is too small to have indoor recess.
Oh.
Because they cannot get all these kids. They can't
safely
get enough kids
inside.
At the same time.
At some point, the fire marshal has to come in and be like, hey, this is a problem.
And we live in Nebraska, obviously. There's days where kids can't go outside.
Absolutely.
So, I don't know. Yes, it's a big number. I know that they've talked about what this means for taxpayers. And they've given out some amounts, like if you own a $100,000 house, and you can do the math on your own. They even have a calculator space on their own website where you can do the calculations based on what your valuation is of your house to see what it would be. But for $100,000 assessed value, it's $9.83 a month. That's based on a levy over 25 years. So this is going to be a long
it's
financial
a lot of money.
project.
It's a lot of money, so it doesn't surprise me that this would be.
And for ag land, it's $4.92 a month per $100,000 assessed value. And yes, we have many landowners that own millions of dollars
more than that
worth of land.
Sure.
So I think now that it's been announced and the education is out there, I think it would be great for people to make sure that they are educated before they go to the polls. And there's times they have a number of town hall meetings that are going to be coming up. All of them start at 6:30. All of them are at the elementary school. They'll be having them on September 16th, September 25th, October 7th, and October 16th.
Perfect.
And you can contact administrators. You can also talk to.
That's been one thing that I've been really impressed with is the openness that the superintendent has been, at least with, he very clearly is with the media. He invited you, and he's come on my show a couple of times. And so he's very adamant about, like, if you have questions or complaints, talk to him. He's very adamant about that.
And there's also a parents committee, a public committee that has been formed. Kirby Crawford is heading that effort up. They also can provide information as to how the figures were determined, what the needs were. They can help with that too. So as with everything, you go to the polls, you need to know what you're voting about and why, and
absolutely
do your thing, because you're going to be paying the bill. Also, your kids, your grandkids,
they're going to benefit. They're going to be benefiting from it. So it's and if this doesn't pass, another one will be coming, and it's the kind of thing of, like, in theory, they're going to be trying to improve the school in some capacity.
Correct.
And so
they're going to have to do something.
They will have to do something.
Yeah.
That is for sure.
Yeah.
In more money talk, there was a city budget hearing.
There was a city budget hearing last Thursday night, during which they outlined details of the budget. Then this Thursday, they will be taking a final vote on whether to adopt it.
Okay. Was there anything major that stuck out to you?
Well, one interesting thing is that they were able to leave the levy is going to stay at the 20-cent mark, so 28-cent mark, excuse me. So the levy has not gone up since last year. Also, Dr. Crawford also pointed out that we need probably remember too is that the city property tax is less than 16% of our property tax load. So it's a small portion compared to what we pay for property tax that goes to a lot of other entities, school districts, the county. There's a lot of different entities that are part of our tax load of what we pay. But the interesting thing about York that I've always just found fascinating, when I first got here in York and started covering the news, we did not have our local sales tax. It was all property tax that funded all the operations. That was passed in 1998, this local sales tax. So because of that, our property taxes only make up 7% of the city's revenue. A lot of cities, villages, property taxes 100% of their revenue. But we have what people like to refer to as the Miracle Mile out here at the interchange, where we have a lot of people coming in and spending money. And that local sales tax is what's actually funding the city's operations. Now, we have the enterprise funds, which are like landfill, sewer, water. Those are supported by the fees we pay for as users.
Right.
So anyway, I just think that it's interesting for people to remember that we're, with all this talk at the state legislature about lowering property tax as much as possible, the good news is here in York, we have a lot of people that are helping us pay our bills.
Absolutely.
By coming here, shopping downtown. We have a lot of strong commerce, and that is really making a difference. So even if at the state legislature level, they come up with some form of lowering property tax, we will still have strong revenues here in New York.
Sounds very similar to when I lived in Orlando. Everyone talked about the tourism taxes. So it was
absolutely
the instead of having a state income tax, the tax was put on as resort fees and hotel stays and that sort of stuff. Extra taxes on gas. That's what Florida did and what Orlando did specifically because, the mouse runs the place. The mouse runs the house, as they say. And so they would just tax that instead of having an state income tax sort of thing. And so it's very interesting to see that on a smaller scale, York has done a very similar thing, and sounds very beneficial to everyone who's living here, owns property here in York.
Absolutely. And there were questions during the hearing, as expected, about the impact that Project Access York would have on city spending. We all know that a multi-million-dollar federal grant was given to the city for the project to connect the trails.
Yeah.
And create different infrastructure over the, in the future. That's not coming. But anyway, they did provide some information. Now, the total city funds that are going to be required for Project Access York will total about $728,000.
Okay.
But that's over quite a period of time. Some money's already been spent for engineering. This year, they budgeted $272,000 just for right-of-way purchase.
Oh wow! So they're knocking out like a third of that $728,000
They've already
right away.
spent about $265,000 for engineering. That was already done 2 fiscal years ago. So
there's not a whole lot left.
No, and so in the fiscal year of 25-26. There will be no city spending of any kind. And there'll be some construction match, but they only have it listed for 26-27 at like $155,000. So, and the construction costs aren't going to be known until the bidding process, but we're talking a couple years away.
Sure.
And this project is still, comments from the public are still being looked at and compiled and considered. So we're still in the early stages of that project. But I found that interesting because that is a question that
a lot of people have in terms of...
And that conversation is going to continue, obviously.
Yes, for quite a while.
Quite some time.
Absolutely.
Right.
And then I do want to get to some of the news, not necessarily around taxes and that sort of stuff.
Sure.
So what is Soggy Doggy?
It's awesome.
What is this?
It's the best day of the year. Oh my God.
I've never heard of it.
It's so fantastic. Oh, I'd say that was the highlight of my last week was, oh, Soggy Doggy's awesome. Okay. You've never heard of it?
No, never heard of it.
Oh, it's so wonderful. Shout out to York Parks and Rec on that one. Okay, so the Family Aquatic Center has its nice long season. Everybody gets to swim.
Absolutely.
We love the place.
Yeah.
Okay, the last day comes. It's 4:00. They shut it down for the season. It's over.
Yeah.
So then at 4:30, over the loudspeakers comes, "Who let the dogs out? Oof, oof, oof. Who let the dogs out?"
Yes.
And they open the doors, and people show up with their dogs.
Incredible.
You just give them a $5 bill per dog. And everybody goes in there. And and this year, again, it tied. Last year was a record at 92. And amazingly, this year, they tied it at 92.
Nice.
92 dogs is a lot.
Is a lot of dogs.
And I was there. I saw it, participated in it. And I wish MPPD could have metered the energy.
Yeah.
We could have lit up this town for at least a week.
Incredible.
So much running, jumping, swimming, slobbering.
All of it.
It was amazing. and people were trying to control, the really crazy ones. And then some of the big boys, like the labs and all them, they all just headed straight for the deep end and they just jump and swim. Little puppies were in the shallow area realizing that their legs were doing something that they didn't recognize. And and people are like, "Look at the puppy swimming. Look at the puppy swimming."
That's incredible.
So from 4:30 to 6, it was all for the dogs. And and it was so funny too. Like the music was all dog oriented.
Nice.
And it was incredible.
Yeah. Incredible.
It is every year. It's like the highlight of like the whole summer. And they do let it go a little bit past 6 because there's some dogs that just still aren't done. But
sure,
it's a wet mess and loud, but it's absolutely fantastic.
Sounds like it was a wet, wild, fun time.
It is. So, do you have a dog?
I don't. I've got 2 cats. They would not enjoy this
cats,
at all.
No. If you get a dog, remember, Soggy Doggy, end of the summer.
End of summer, Soggy Doggy Day at the aquatic center.
And then as soon as that mess is over and everybody leaves, then they drain that pool.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Makes total sense. The amount
God
of dog.
only knows what's in it.
Gosh.
God only knows. But no, it's fantastic.
Absolutely. That's so cool. I love that. I can't believe I had never heard of that. Okay, do you have photos on your website?
I do. There's a gallery full of photos. You can go look for your dog if it was there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh yeah, fantastic photos. And I have to give a shout out. Eric Eckert took those photos for me. He's a great photographer. And these pictures are like, if you want to go look for a picture of your dog.
Yeah.
And it's there. Go take it off of there, copy it. It's free to you, and make a poster for your living room wall because it's fantastic.
That's awesome. Over at justmelw.com.
JustMelanieW.com.
JustMelanieW.com. Absolutely. Well, we've done it. We've talked about the news of the past week, and we'll be back next week to review the week that was.
Okay.
All righty. Melanie, thanks so much for jumping on.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Absolutely.